I finally did it. I killed Forensnik. Or, I think I have. I was driving home at midnight when I saw Forensnik leaving Jim's house. I then drove my car to the garage and parked it. I then went inside the house with my switchblade. I looked all around the house, but I couldn't find Jim or Forensnik. I then did get the Winchester shotgun from the fireplace. Then, I checked the basement. I saw Jim's body hanging from the roof. Below it was a note saying that he would have died if he had not done that, and there might be more than one Forensnik. I then heard Forensnik walk into the house, and I loaded the Winchester. I cornered him, and he cut my shoulder with a knife and growled at me. I shot him in the chest with the Winchester, but someone looking just like him just jumped behind me and tried to bite me. I shot him in the chest also. I thought they were both dead, but the second Forensnik ran behind me. I blew his head off and then threw him in the oven, turned it on, and burned his body. I decided to go into the cellar and call the police, before I noticed that the other Forensnik's body was missing. Oh please, don't tell me that he's still alive. When I got to the cellar, I found a USB drive and then took them to when the police arrived and took Jim's body away. I told the officer Newport about what happened and how there is a burnt body of a second Forensnik in the oven. I got home and put the USB drive in my computer. It only had one file, instructions.mov. It was just like a 30-second video of the second Forensnik saying, "In your pillow will be," over and over. "In your pillow will be what?" I decided to open my pillow. I found my switchblade, my wallet, and a DVD copy saying Appy, the complete series, with it saying seasons 1, 2, and 3. "Oh hell yes," I said, knowing that this had the missing episodes, plus all of season 2 and 3. I'm going to post this tomorrow on this. November 2nd, 2011. This is the first part of the Appy season 2 and 3 viewing series. This post will start with all 3 of the season 2 episodes, while the second and third posts deal with the rest of season 2 and 3. I played the DVD. It was stupid. It had a cheesy early 2000s feel to the DVD menu. I went to the episode selection and found these episodes for season 2. Appy meets the Rhubarb Bears, Camp Ah, Halloween special. Appy and the Oranges, Appy's van breaks. The kids are okay. Happy Christmas special. Couldn't make out the title. Miranda Lives. Lighter. Miranda Forever. Appy and Blackberry. Appy Lives. The episodes for season 3 were Red, Miranda Dies. Nukes, Meaner. Appy 2, Revenge. Jar of Hate. Appy 3, Rose of Blood and Bones. Can of Kill. Appy Feast. Appy Rots in Hell. Epilogue. I played the Appy meets Roo Bears in Camp Ah. It starts off with the intro, which was now in an acoustic version of the intro. It then begins with Appy walking into the playground with his injuries. He then sees Green Rhubarb running around, and Appy says, "Hey, Mr. Teddy!" And the Rhubarb doesn't respond. Then Appy says, "Mr. Teddy, let's go find some kids to heal." And Rhubarb nods his head. When they hear crying from the swings, Appy and Rhubarb walk over to the kid, who hits his head on the swings. Not the metal bars, is the part that you sit on. Appy gets out some bandages and heals them. Then they hear a car crash. Appy turns around and then sees a long limousine, and then a man exits out of the car. It turns out to be the Appendix twin himself. He starts doing the dance from the window liquor with the umbrella. Appy and Rhubarb walk up to him, and Appy says, "Hey, who are you?" And a fake Phoenix says, "I'm Richard." And Appy says, "Let's go find some children to heal." And Appendix says, "Sure." The rest of the episode just had him healing children who injured themselves on various parts of the playground. When I first saw this episode, it was so tame for a Halloween special. I thought it was early for season 1 episode, mislabeled season 2 as an episode. When I saw Camp Ah, it then starts off with the intro, minus Happy Appy dancing, and adding the cliche intro featuring the main characters and the original music. Why the acoustic version used once? And it starts off with Happy driving his van saying, "Who's ready for camp?" with the 2 girls in the passenger seats cheering. After driving for a while, Happy parks in the camp, sets the washcloth, and sits on the girls. After staring at the sky for at least a few seconds, another apple appears that looked like one of those bench bullies wearing clothing that looked like Beach Boys would wear. Happy then says, "Move it, ladies." And why it's so much clearer this time? The beach bully apple says, "Don't go on the beach." Then Happy says, "Why?" Then the other apple says, "Because I said so," and push Happy out of the way. Happy decides to go up the trail into the bench and the beach. What he finds there were a bunch of children playing on the beach and poking something out of the view with a stick. It turns out to be the object, which is Miranda's body. Happy then screams, "Stop doing that!" Then pulls out a knife. The next shot is the girls still sitting on the washcloth, but they heard children screaming. One of the girls says, "What happened?" And the other one says, "Let's go find out." The 2 girls walked into the beach. What they found was a bunch of children's bodies, in the middle being Happy Appy with a knife, and says, "Hey girls, I have a present." And they walked over, and it cuts to the same place with the washcloth, now with both girls screaming. The episode ends with Happy dragging the girls back to his van and driving off with his narration. And that, my friends, is how Camp Ah got its name from Happy Appy himself. Then I played the episode Happy and the Oranges, Happy's Van Breaks. It starts with the same intro of the Happy dancing. Then it cuts to Happy walking around the playground with children at play. When Happy sees that something is to the right, 2 oranges sitting on the bench. Happy walks to the bench and says, "Hey, who are you?" And the orange says, "We're the Oranges." And Happy says, "Well, I'm Happy Appy." Then the oranges screamed and ran off. Happy said, "Every time," and then goes to his van. When he goes to the oranges' house in the middle of the night, at first the oranges are watching TV, while the second orange is reading a book. The second orange says, "Hey, James." James Orange says, "What, John?" And John Orange says, "Did you know that no words rhyme with orange?" And James Orange says, "Oh, really?" Then John Orange says, "I'm gonna go to bed." And James Orange nods and continues to watch TV. Then Happy Appy jumps onto the roof of their house with a pair of an orange peeler in his right hand and whispers, "Hey kids, let's go skin the oranges." And Happy climbs down the ladder to where John Orange is and peels his skin. After that, he puts Orange John in a viz and then starts turning the crank. John Orange gets squeezed and orange juice comes out of him, replacing blood. After that, James Orange knocks on the door and Happy jumps to the ceiling. When James opens the door and turns on the light, he sees John Orange's body and screams. Then Happy Appy comes down from the ceiling and peels and visits him at the same way John Orange did, and the episode ends. The next episode was Happy's Van Breaks, and it starts off with the intro, then it goes to the episode. Happy is healing a kid when he notices that his van engine is blowing smoke. He then runs to it and notices that part of the van's engine had been broken. Happy takes a mechanic toolbox and gets to work on the engine. When he works on the engine, a kid's soccer ball bounces on Happy's head. In range, he then grabs a wrench and off-screen, he kills the kid with the wrench. He then goes back and repairs the engine, replaces the coolant, changes the oil, and while healing more kids, when we see a man break Happy Bee's engine, Happy gets super annoyed and runs after the man in a point of view shot. Eventually he captures him and stabs him in the back of his head with the screwdriver, and the episode ends. Finally, I saw one episode. The kids are all okay. Happy Christmas. And the kids are okay. We find out what happened to Danny. He's still alive, and we find out what happened. Danny is a bit the younger brother of Miranda, as he hates Happy because he killed his older sister. Most of the episode was Happy trying to kill Danny while posed as John Orange. In Happy Christmas, we see Happy drive to the playground in his van, but the van is all decked out for Christmas lights and decorations. Happy exits out the side door and says, "Merry Christmas, children," and gives the presents to the children. We see one of the kids open his present, and it was a juice box. In fact, all the presents were juice boxes. We see the kids drink them, all except one kid, who is Danny. All of a sudden, the children collapsed. When I first saw this, I thought he had done as a Jim Jones and puts out the poison in the juice boxes. But then Happy says, "Looks like my knockout drink worked," and we see Danny run away. And he looks at Happy, taking all the kids to his van, and then we see Happy drive off, screaming, "Merry Christmas, Danny!" And Danny runs to the road, pulls out the Colt Python, and shoots the bumper of Happy's van. Happy swerves but keeps driving. Danny throws the gun at the ground and screams, "Darn you, Happy!" And then the episode ends. November 3rd, 2011. Welcome to part 2 of the Happy Appy episode watching posts. I decided to watch with the episode that contained Miranda Lives. The first episode was unreadable in the episode menu. It had the Danny's final in the intro. However, the intro was different. It plays the final countdown by Europe by showing pictures of Danny fighting Happy Appy. Then it shows a clip of Happy dancing when Danny's shooting, and then the clips fuse into one shot of verses between. The episode starts out with Danny kissing one of the girls from the movie. He said, "I love you, Jenny." Then it cuts to Happy dragging a body to his van. It turns out to be Miranda. Happy drives his van while the Psycho theme plays. Danny then sees the van and flips the bird at them. Happy gets out and says, "Greetings, bitch." Danny then takes out a katana, while Happy takes out his knife. They sword fight for a minute, when Danny flicks Happy's knife away with his katana. Happy then congratulates Danny's sword and says, "Now let's see how much blood's in you." While Jenny screams, Happy thrusts the sword, but then he is stabbed quickly by a moving being. It was Miranda. She says, "Cheers," and then falls down. Danny then said, "He's dead forever." The credits then appear, and the title card shows saying epilogue, and the epilogue made the episode worse. It started off with Happy's body in the playground. A demonic voice that sounded like a voice in the first 6 seconds of One Vision by Queen started talking, and a fog surrounding the playground. Then Happy started levitating, but it was really a shadow man who was holding him up. It was Forensnik, saying, "Poor Happy, defeated by Danny. I will revive you, and we will kill Danny and Miranda." Then the episode ends. Then Miranda Lives started playing, and it started off with the piano version of the song sung by 3 out of the 5 original kindergartners, but they were in the 1st or 2nd grade when the episode premiered. The intro showed clips from Happy and the Oranges, Happy Christmas, Camp Ah, and the other episodes I hadn't seen yet. It began with Miranda chopping cow with a butcher knife in the butcher shop, while Down with This Sickness was playing. It was released on Halloween of 2000, and this episode was released on December 27th, so it was sort of normal. Happy sneaks into the butcher shop with a needle filled with acid and injects the acid in Miranda. Before running off, the song stops and Miranda wakes up, picking up the knife and yelling for Happy, but there is no response. She looks around and Happy jumps down from behind and bites her leg. She chops off the leaf off of Happy's head, and Happy screams loudly, like a girl in pain, and stabs her eye with a needle. She fainted and looked like as if she died, but she gets up and drives her thumb to Happy's back. Happy screams, and that same scream, and spits some green acid on her face. Miranda falls down, but Danny runs with a peeler and peels part of Happy's face off, and apple juice squirts out. Happy then chops part of Danny's shoe off with Miranda's knife. Danny then runs into a walk-in freezer, and Happy flows. Danny turns on the temperature to minus 34 degrees Fahrenheit, and Happy freezes. Then the episode ends. Then I played the episode Lighter and Miranda Forever. Lighter was about Happy finding a lighter, and it starts off the regular old intro, but with the acoustic version. Why the acoustic version? It then cuts to Happy walking onto the playground. I have a question. If Happy killed a lot of children, why wouldn't the children notice him instantly or the parents? Happy then stops and picks up the lighter. He says, "Hey kids, look what Happy found." It then cuts to Happy turning on the lighter. He says, "Today, we're going to learn about fire." Oh no, I know what it was most likely going to happen. Happy burns down houses, sets people on fire, and even most likely kills Danny. I then saw Happy stand next to an actual worm. He said, "Fire can give people burns, and in some cases it could kill them, like this worm." Then he set the worm on fire. You could see its charred body. Happy then says, "Magnifying glasses can set small insects on fire," before walking over to a kid. The kid didn't recognize him, and Happy turned on the lighter and set the kid on fire. The kid tried to stop, drop, and roll, but it was too late. Happy then said, "Let's go find a house to burn." Happy then walks over to the house and burns it down. The rest of the episode was just Happy setting stuff on fire. I then played Miranda Forever, and it picked up at the end of Miranda Lives, where Danny was in the walk-in freezer with Happy's frozen body. You could see some ice on Danny's face due to the sweat freezing, and then screams Miranda to open the door. Miranda wakes up and slowly walks over to the freezer. Miranda tries opening the door, and the door himself doesn't open. Miranda then wonders, could a hammer break down the handle? Miranda tells Danny that she will get a sledgehammer to try and break down the door, then walks off. Danny waits for a while, staring at Happy, wondering if he'll ever come back from the dead and kill him. Then Miranda hits the door with the sledgehammer and breaks down the handle, throwing open the door, and Danny gets scared and accidentally kills the thermostat warm in the freezer. Miranda gets Danny out of the room, and they both leave the butcher shop. However, the thermostat warms up Happy and manages to leave again. He says, "Hey kids, let's see how good Danny is holding in pain." Then he gets a chunk of ice pellets and puts on Danny's arm. He then screams. Miranda turns around, but Happy isn't there, and the episode just ends. Then I played Happy and the Blackberry, which was a 2-minute short of a normal episode of Happy Appy. It starts off with Danny, Jenny, Miranda, and a kid named Quincy talking in a meeting room dressed up. Miranda suggests they put another fruit out to kill Happy. Quincy suggests a watermelon to crush Happy. Miranda suggests a tomato. Jenny suggests a pear, but Danny shouts blackberry, and a blackberry appears, which his name is Dairy Berry. He says, "You owe me 2 ounces of dirt and a cup of water, Dan." And then Danny replies with, "Whatever, just kill the goddamn apple." Danny then runs towards Happy, who is putting a medical tapes and cotton around the kid's bloody gash near his wrist on his arm. Happy then turns out and holding scissors, and Dairy runs to them. Then Happy says, "Remember kids, always look where you're going or you'll go woo boo boo." Dairy then pulls himself off the scissors and starts to eat Happy. After that, all is left of the apple core. Dairy explodes and the episode ends. Happy Lives starts off with the same intro. Happy just randomly sucks himself back together like a movie, but this time, all the effects were a bit bitter. The Happy heals kids with the Band-Aid, but then he says, "Hey kids, wanna come have some fun with me and Benny?" Then they come running to the van. But Benny leaves quickly and silently, and then shows Happy with a hand grenade and he says, "Wanna see a cool trick?" Of course the children shout yes. The van explodes and the scene is kind of realistic, with bloody parts everywhere, and Happy then polishes a toe, puts it in the jar, and puts a mysterious brown bag, which had been used in the background since the knife episode. Benny runs over to the group, Miranda, Danny, Jenny, and Quincy, and says, "Hi, we're the Happy Hunters." Benny then says, "Can I join?" And then the episode just ends there, without the credits.